I don't know what to expect.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Between Us, our internet program in which two reasonably successful realtors interview people who are inexplicably more successful than they are. I'm John Yacovetta. My partner in crime, Tommy, is right there on
Tommy here.
another Zoom meeting. Tommy eagled the 10th hole at Fossil Trace the other day. Tommy, what was that like?
It was an amazing experience, John. I'm glad you was there to witness it.
That's great. It's great.
Probably the shortest par 4 in all the state, but I nailed it, so it was great.
We'll talk more about golf later, probably, but maybe you noticed that Tommy and I are rocking some sick new hairdos today in honor of our guest on Just Between Us. She is one of the leading voices of the Denver metro real estate industry, and particularly when it comes to nerdery and market stats, market analysis, and especially wicked bangs. Megan Aller of First American Title, welcome to Just Between Us.
Yay, Megan!
Yay, I like your hair. I think that you should wear it like that more often. That's cool hip gym hair right
we
there.
have plenty more where this came from. Just you wait.
Oh, no.
Just you wait.
Let's start with the serious educational stuff. How is COVID manifesting in the market right now?
It's about as V-shaped recovery as you can get, if you can believe it. I think that we were all waiting to see what was going to happen with buyer resiliency. That was the one piece that we'd never really had a great pulse point on until recently. And unemployment is at the highest it's ever been. But we don't know if they're job furloughs or truly the elimination of a position and salary reductions. Now that, it's kind of, we're doing double duty. And so we lost April, and so we might as well work twice as hard in June.
Real estate really opened back up right at the end of April. So we've had a month, and you've been tracking and compiling data on a daily basis. You used your magical powers to get into showing time and really track what daily showings look like, and now you're starting to compile pendings and closings and contracts that are signed and comparing them with stuff that's been withdrawn and all that. Can you give us a quick snapshot of like May monthly data, or do you have a couple of key takeaways from May?
Yeah, almost all numbers are right on pace with where they're supposed to be had COVID not happened, with the exception of a couple things. We're lagging in pending transactions, tends to happen when not a lot's happening for a 6-week period. But then also closed transactions. Closed transactions obviously follow pending transactions. But we've also taken a hit in appreciation. For the end of May, as of last Thursday night, we were actually 1.5% behind last year's average sales prices at this time for detached single family. It's interesting to see that, especially at this time, and appreciation is one of those really tricky buggers where 100% of our appreciation is established in Metro Denver between January and June. And when you eliminate one of the most competitive months in the marketplace and inventory naturally starts to rise going into June, the conditions don't warrant the same level of appreciation to be set this year. We may make up some ground, but we were benchmarking at 8% year over year prior to COVID taking hold. We're not likely to hit 8% this year. This time last year, interest rates were a full point to a 1.25 higher. And so with that leveling of appreciation plus that reduction in interest rate, they actually have about 10% more purchasing power this year for conforming loans than what they've seen previously.
Yeah.
And so its affordability is actually increased. There's a lot of stimulation that's happening in the economy right now by way of lowering those interest rates to try and continue to spur some activity and consumer confidence.
Piggybacking right on that, do you think May's data represents the release of the demand that was stockpiled in March and April?
Yeah, and so I think it dovetails into two different theories. One is catch up from what happened in April, but then number two is if there's another wave of COVID, like has been predicted as we get into fall, people trying to get ahead of that curve.
Yeah.
And so what my gut tells me is going to happen is that we're going to double time up until about mid-July, when we typically see that pullback or that retraction in the market where inventory rises, our buyer pool fatigues. I think that we're still going to see that kind of pullback that happens about mid-July.
That makes a lot.
Guys, don't forget to fluff your bangs every once in a while. You have to do that when you're like processing and thinking.
Sorry. I
got mall bangs going on there, Tommy.
Yeah, I use the proper.
So the next question, what other economic factors are you seeing or anticipating having effect in the real estate market heading into the third and fourth quarter?
So my concern is that if someone was furloughed at this point with the first round of COVID, and now they've been brought back to work, and so I think a lot of service industry folks fit this kind of queue. And what happens if COVID comes back around? Are they likely to be furloughed again? And so my concern is with lenders, if they're looking back in time, if they were furloughed for a period of time and then they had their job back, is that truly considered a loss of income, or how is that going to work? And will that be held against them in the future? And so I would say that if there are those folks that are able to qualify now that may fall into that bracket, that I would encourage them to get out there now and get ahead of that. Again, we're all just kind of guessing at this point, and it's economists right now that are projecting out too far in advance.
Am I doing it right?
Yeah, perfect. It's economists that are projecting too far out. I mean, we call them one thing, and that's typically wrong. And so I think that we're all kind of staying away, and we're saying, these are the things that I'm looking out for. I think that I've heard from a couple of different places. John Covert's a good cohort of mine, and he's the me of new construction.
Yeah.
And he tracks a lot more of those government indicators than I do when he consults with developers. And when he was talking about the unemployment rates, unemployment, I mean, it's as high as it was in the Great Depression in the 30s. And he said that about 80% of those were considered to be furloughed positions and not a true loss of a job. But again, I mean, if fewer people are going out to, eat or whatever, that they don't necessarily need that 100% staff to return. So looking at a lot of that, historically, elections haven't had a huge impact here in Denver, but now that we're standing on a little bit softer ground, it might have more impact. But then also with a lot of the unrest that's been happening in light of riots in downtown Denver, there's just a lot of unrest, and that doesn't do anything to stimulate consumer confidence.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to see that are people going to start transitioning away from city centers to get some more space?
I have one attached unit under contract, scheduled to close in a couple of weeks in Cheeseman Park. So I'd be interested to see what kind of data.
Yeah, I'll send it out when I get it all completed.
We'll move away from the sad, serious stuff.
You and Brett have a pretty good back and forth regarding what the market will do. Obviously, who's right and who's not right. Have you guys?
Well, according to Brett, I'm never right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who is right?
Well, me. I'm a little bit more than opinion. There's a little bit of research that goes into what I do. I think Brett just likes to poke at me.
He sure does.
See if I can hold my own or not.
Yep.
I think you've proven yourself.
No, Brett's good. I enjoy sparring with him because he's going to question what I really think, and I appreciate being challenged, and it helps me grow and really figure out if I stand behind my opinion or. I mean, you guys are the feet on the street. I can sit behind my computer and look at numbers all day long, but you're typically seeing something a week or two ahead of when I can actually measure it. So. I always appreciate the feet on the street opinion.
Yeah. We do love to pick on Brett here, but we also we certainly value his knowledge and expertise, and being able to kind of listen to the two of you put your heads together, whether it's been a picking on each other sort of back and forth or not for the last couple of months. It's made us all smarter and better at what we do. So
he's a good guy.
I don't usually say nice things about him.
Well, I mean, he has red hair, so you gotta be nice to him, right? Red curly hair. God, poor thing.
Can you imagine if he had bangs?
Ooh, that'd be brutal. He could do a very 80s, like the curls, and then you flatten the bangs.
Moving on. So bangs. Why the bangs? What? I've never seen your forehead. How long have you had bangs? Why are you obsessed with bangs?
I've probably had bangs for 18 years. And here's the thing about bangs. Once you cut them, it's really hard to grow them out. And it's cheaper than Botox. Not that I don't go and get Botox just in case I ever decide not to have bangs. But I show a lot of my emotion with my eyebrows. And if I can hide that a little bit, sometimes it's read as judgment. So it's my green visor and my sunglasses and my headphones when I'm sitting at the poker table. No, I just can't grow them out. I'm going to die like this.
So what about your graphs? Can anyone actually read those things?
I hope so. I try to make them pretty colors so that they're at least somewhat interesting.
Speaking of graphs, your hashtag is a girl and her graphs. Mm-hmm. We came up with a new tagline of our own, boys and their bangs. And we are merging graphs and bangs in your honor. So we made this, and we would like your feedback if we possibly can.
This is the best day ever.
So, boys and their bangs versus a girl and her graphs. Round one, here we go. Tommy and I were brainstorming how do we really kind of make this light. It had been a rough weekend, and my girlfriend was here the other day, and I said, we're having Megan Eller on, and she's got these bangs, and she's obsessed with them. And she said, let me do your hair. And I said, it's a great idea. And passed along to Tommy, and Tommy said, we gotta do some bang graphs. So we did. We took pictures, and I rated our bangs on a scale of 0 to 5, 5 being Megan bangs, like 5's as good as it gets. So this first picture is called the no part. There is no part, but there are plenty of bangs here. I win the bang length. Tommy wins bang straightness in this one, and overall sexiness is just uncontrollable. I think. Do you agree?
This is fantastic.
Do you like our metrics?
Yeah, those are great. Can they see? That's a real bugger, and it's not.
See?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Round two is the hard part, right? We actually did the part. In terms of the part, I think Tommy really wins.
That's early 2000s.
I wore that as a haircut back then. Yeah.
Swoop bang. So we need to splice in some pictures of my husband when we started dating in college, because he was like the quintessential baseball player, drove a Jeep, business major, had the blonde tip highlights.
Yes.
And it's the blonde tip highlights, and then the puka shell necklace and cargo shorts. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is what I look like when I wake up in the morning.
Like me or like Tommy?
Well, like Jon. Seriously, because I can't sleep with hair on my face, and so it's just it's right on top.
I gave Tommy the win for utility in this one, just because his hair looks much more dangerous than mine. He can't really do anything with the big samurai poop.
Man, bangs are so badass. Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
See, yep, that's what you need. Tommy, you still got a little bit of mall bang going on though.
This one's our heat map. How do we do with our bangs and our graphs?
You nailed it. I mean, gosh.
Woohoo! All right, diving back into it. Tell us a little bit how you wound up at First American selling title insurance.
Oh gosh. Well, nobody wakes up as a little girl and they say, I'm going to sell title insurance when I get older. You're either a legacy, you have a family member in it. Usually it's your mom that kind of pulls you into it, or it's a total accident. I was a chemist before I got into real estate. And I actually never used my degree. After college, I went to be a flight attendant for 3 years. I was like, chemistry is so boring, so boring. And so I was a flight attendant for 3 years. And when my husband and I got engaged, I wanted to go into pharmaceutical or medical device sales, but no one would look at a flight attendant with a chemistry degree. And it was 2007 and no one was hiring. The best man in our wedding and my husband's college and roommate worked for the MLS in Denver. And he said, hey, we need an account manager. And I'm like, well, there's nothing softer than soft sales for a monopoly. So I went and worked for them. And then they discovered that I had this background in analytics, and I moved on to helping them with some of their complex search logic and stats. And then I committed to them for a period of 2 to 3 years before I was ready to move on to a competitive sales industry. And things lined up, and I was picked up by a title company right at the bottom of the recession, commission dependent on what was happening in insurance. And then about 2 years ago, it was time to seek opportunities and get some change, and I landed at First American.
It's a pretty lovely story. Tell us more about your husband, and you've got kids and all this stuff. You've got a family that I assume you love and that they're wonderful, but why don't you tell us more?
They're good. They're just messy. Man, they're just so messy. My husband's awesome. He is a jack of all trades. We own a couple of State Farm insurance agencies, and we invest in real estate throughout Denver together. But we also recently developed an app that's called Track My Referrals for B2B relationship sources. And so it's our dinner table conversations is what's more important. Title insurance or a windshield policy on your car. So they're very exciting conversations. Yeah, it is. It's neither one of us are very exciting people. He has like a million hobbies. I have zero other than making graphs.
Make it
It's kind of losing my mind. And Justin's like, you need to get a hobby. And I'm like what? No, I'm kidding. I garden on the weekends and in the evenings, which is also very exciting. It's like skydiving. No,
yeah.
I'm gonna garden. I'm gonna water things. That's what I'm gonna do. Walk around with a hose and I'm gonna pull weeds. And then we have Piper and Bodie. So Piper is 5. And she is this curly little blonde thing that is spunky and it's going to be in charge of everyone. She was really interested in growing up right now. And when you say, why do you want to grow up? She's like, because I want to tell people what to do. And so she's a pistol. Awesome. I'm a little bit afraid of her. Please don't tell her that because she's going to run me over.
I look forward to never meeting her.
Bodie is 2. And my husband was on a 10-day fishing trip last week. And we had just weaned him. This is terrible, but he's my last kid. So he was on a bottle until like last week. And as soon as Justin left town, I broke out the bottles that I hid from everyone. Gave him right back. Also kind of failed at potty training last week. So he had been more or less potty trained except for bedtime. And I put him back in the diaper. It was survival mode. It was total survival mode last week. Everyone slept in bed with me, including the dog with one goopy eye. It was just
gross.
It was
gross. I'm glad we did this over the internet. Should we move on? We've got one more little section called rapid fire.
Ski or snowboard?
Neither.
Yes, me either. Dogs or cats?
I like cats, but my husband's allergic to everything. We have a dog.
City life or mountain life?
Mountain life.
Vertical graphs or horizontal?
All of them.
Best practical joke you ever pulled on your husband?
One of the biggest fights we ever got into was over the fact that I wouldn't trim up his hair after he had a bad haircut. And I was so worried that I was going to mess it up. And he got really upset with me that I wouldn't touch the clippers. I was like, I don't want to cut you. I don't want to screw this up. Like, I'm really uncomfortable doing this. And it turned into one of those like giant nothing fights where we're screaming at each other outside. And we were driving home at the time and I hopped out of my car and he had stuff to unload. It was like groceries or something. I hopped out of the car and I grabbed the remote control for the garage door opener. And I waited until he was completely loaded up. And as soon as he got close enough to the garage door, I'd start closing it. And I was laying in bed laughing so hard I was crying while he was standing outside cursing. And this happened like 5 times in a row before he was like, bad, Megan, bad. And I was like, he's gonna murder me in my sleep.
What is the best practical joke he's pulled on you?
So my dad collected, of all cars, Nissan 300 ZXs in like the 80s versions, like the T-tops and the ones that were champagne with red interior. And so, of course, that was one of my college cars. However, the emergency brake didn't work really well. And so when I parked in our apartment complex, because we were next door neighbors, he actually took and moved my car, parked it like blocks away. I couldn't find my car for 3 days and I had to call in sick to work because we went to school in Greeley and I worked in Denver. And so I ended up losing shifts over that.
Oh no.
He stole my car.
You guys still play pranks on each other or are those days?
Constantly. Okay. 90% of our marriage is forgiveness. And
Yeah.
so far he's bought 3 or 4 cars and 2 boats without telling me about it until I opened up the garage door. And so it's just forgiveness is the name of our game. Forgiveness and tolerance.
Well, at least you know how to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we don't say that. We just get even.
We really appreciate you taking the time and doing
definitely.
this.
Thank you
very
guys.
much. We know you're
fun. Yeah, as much as I like charts and graphs, it's nice to have a break and like talk to people.
Yeah, I get it.
Thank
See
you.
guys later.
Thanks so much, Megan.
Have a
Take
good one.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm like, and you're dead, and you're dead, and
You ready? We worked tirelessly to prepare ourselves for this one.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, is my audio working? Can you hear me? There we go.
Tommy, did you try to blow dry your bangs?
Yeah, I used a little like curling blow dryer thingy.
Yep.
Just hanging out in your bathroom. You just
Yep.
have one of those.
It's kind of good.
My fiance does.
Sure. You'll love them.
have to take your word for it, because
They got pooping a little bit.
You got to train them. It takes some time. You got to commit.
yeah.